Here, this is the Torah portion of this week. For all of you non-Jews, or if any, or non-religious Jews, anyway, anyone listen to this and doesn't know what we're talking about. So first of all, I would appreciate it if you would write a question to me on the site. You know, there's people that write all these ridiculous, semi-science fiction, ideas of what's going to be in the world to come, and so at least somebody should write it one serious, normal question. And there are some people who write nice things, but and anyway, it's something like some sort of a cross between War of the Worlds and Alice in Wonderland or something, and all these people are so sure of what's going to be, and the future redemption is going to be by a man. His name is George. What can I say? Anyway, so at least write if you don't understand things. So write me questions. If you have any questions, please. I'll be more than happy to try to explain everything that I can explain. So we were talking every week. The Jewish people they've been reading. The Jewish people have been reading the Torah in public since it's been given 3,333 years ago to Moses at Mount Sinai. So it's been read in public. Read in public. How do they read? They don't read the whole thing. It'd be too long every week. So on every Shabbat, they read one of the 53 portions. Sometimes they unite the portions together in certain years where there's extra, whether the months are I'm sorry, when it's a pregnant month and there's an extra month, so it's a little, they spread it out more. They put the portions of the Torah, they spread it out more, and sometimes they spread it less. But nevertheless, they finish every year. So it comes out that every Shabbat there's a different Torah portion that's read, and it ends up, we finish the whole thing on Simchat Torah, the last day of Sukkot. We finish reading the Torah, and we begin the first Shabbat. After that, again, Breshit, beginning. This has been going on for 3,333 years under impossible conditions, but nevertheless, it's always been that. So as soon as the Jewish people could have a little bit of respite and they weren't running away from someplace, well, they had to say for Torah, so they would read it. So this week's Torah portion is called Nitzavim. Next week is going to be Vayelech. And Nitzavim has these amazing positive prophecies that Moses is giving about the Jewish people. And he's not doing it with closed eyes. He says, I know you Jewish people, you're stiff-necked people, you're going to make a lot of trouble and you're going to get kicked out of the land. But don't worry about it. Shuv, God is going to take you back all of your Shav Hashem Elokechat Shavuta. We did this yesterday. God is going to bring all of your exiles back, and he'll have mercy on you. And he'll gather you from all the corners of the world that he's scattered you over there. Even if you're scattered to the ends of the heavens, we did this yesterday. Even if you're scattered to the ends of the heavens, God will gather you and take you from there, and he'll bring you to the land that your forefathers have inherited, and he will, you'll take it over, and God will give you benefits even more than he gave to your forefathers, and God will circumcise your heart. We did this yesterday again. God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your offspring to love God with all of your heart and all of your soul for the sake of your life. And we're going to see this in 1 minute. And just don't think that the Torah is a separate thing from your life, and that if you do it, then God, who's also something separate, he's going to like you. And God is like really, really powerful. He can do whatever he wants. And if you do what he says, then he's going to give you benefits. Don't think that way. I mean, it's also true, but that's not the whole picture. The picture is that the Torah itself is your life, just like you value your life because it's yours, is the same thing as God is also, it's yours. It's infinitely close. In fact, God is infinitely closer to you than you are close to yourself. God is creating you. He's giving you your life. He's creating you and he's enlivening you. So just like for the sake of your life, this is going to be a topic that's going to be a theme that's going to be aroused a little bit later. So let's go. Sake of your life. That's what we got up to yesterday. What about all these curses we had all these 98 curses just waiting there to be, unleashed. What about them? It says God will put them on all your enemies and all the people that hate you, that they ran after you. The people that wise up. Like I say, in Israel, after the 6 Day War, even our worst enemies liked us. Even the worst enemies said, whoa, the Jews, we always loved them. What are you talking about? The Jews, they're the God's chosen people. I said differently, never in the world. All of a sudden, everybody liked us. The United Nations liked us. Everyone liked us. Okay. You will go back and you will all return and you will listen to the voice of. Now, this is a prophecy, and a prophecy for good always comes to be. All the Jews will return and they will listen to the voice of God, and they'll do all of the commandments that I am commanding you today. What does it mean today? It should be brand new in your eyes, like God is giving them today. Balaturim, that if you do tshuva, then immediately you will be redeemed. All the Jewish people, and that's the whole idea, what the Rebbe is trying to do, to make Chabad houses all over the place, and to advertise the ideas of Chassidut. Right? He's sending his emissaries, and an emissary makes more emissaries, and just to tell everybody what the truth is. You will return. It says, teshuv also means to sit, to be settled, said the Sofrono. Teshuv means to be settled, like shuv v'nachat. V'zeh b'hagalus Moshiach, when Moshiach reveals himself, v'ata tamod b'shuva nachas, then you will be able to be, how do you say, calm. Now in the time of exile, when you have enemies, so you can't really be calm. We talked about that before. So it says, don't worry about it. God's going to put anyone who opposes you, right? God does not want to destroy the non-Jews. This is definitely not part of the scenario of Judaism. But on the other hand, God does not want people messing with the Jews. That's also a part of the scenario of Judaism. So the ideal is supposed to be that God, who's the creator of the whole world, and he's creating the non-Jews as well, and he likes them because he's creating them. You can see that he's creating them. But on the other hand, he's saying, listen, there's a reason that I'm creating you, and the Jews will tell you the reason. And if you go and start throwing spitballs at the teacher, then I'm not going to like it. You're going to get expelled from school. So the Jewish people, they're the teachers. So don't mess with the Jews, because you're going to get evicted from the school. In this case, school is life. You get evicted from life. Okay. So he says, therefore, when the non-Jews leave us alone and the Jewish people realize why they're here, and they realize they have a goal, as difficult as the goal is, but nevertheless, a person is sure, he has no doubts, then he can be calm. Shelo Yosif legalos, because they know that there's never going to be another time an exile. Like the prophet explains when he says, Im tashuv Yisrael elai tashuv velo tanud. If the Jewish people return to me, then they will be settled. But if not, they'll have to wander around the world. Wander around. And God will benefit you. And everything that you do. In the fruit of your womb, the children, your animals, your land. It'll be for the good, because God will also return and rejoice with you. And that's going to be the Haftorah, which we're going to learn tomorrow. Happiness. Latov, good, just like he was happy on your forefathers, on Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let's see what this says. God will benefit you even more. He'll give you more success than you had before. And when it's successful to the Jews, it's successful everywhere. Usually, maybe you can, I'm not a history major and I'm not a, what the anthropologist or something, but usually the places where the Jews are the most successful economically. Usually. If Jews are there, then there's economic success, because the Jews make the place dynamic. I think I told you this before, but I'll tell you it again. I was in Romania. There was one time when my wife had this idea that we had to travel around a lot. So every Passover, we traveled to a different place. We go with a big group. They would take over some hotel, and they would work for like a week, making the kitchen kosher, and they would bring their own vessels and everything like that. And anyway, so Passover, long holiday, pretty boring. Nothing really to do in, what are you going to do in Romania? You see a mountain, you see a hill, that's it. So they made a tour. And the tour started getting there, and we said that there's tremendous poverty there, just poverty. Everywhere you go, it's just poverty. I guess maybe in the big city, what's it, Bucharest or whatever. There it's a little bit, even the big department stores, things like that, pretty poor, pretty, third quality. So the guide that was taking us around, he spoke English, and I would translate it for all the people were all Hebrew, Israelis. So I would translate. So he said, it's pretty poor here. When it started getting to the night, so we saw that all the houses were dark. All the houses were dark, right? When night really set in, then people turned on their lights in their houses. And what were the lights? The lights were like sort of orange, and they pulsated. Like it was run by some sort of a turbine that had rats running around in a circle, and then one of these wheels or something, just went on. So somebody said, why is the poverty over here? So he said, well, if you ask me, I'm not Jewish, but if you ask me, it's because they killed all the Jews. In Romania, Hungary, all these places, they joyously participated in getting rid of as many Jews as possible. As soon as they did that, then the whole place just became, how do you say, in a comatic state. Everything just sort of settled down, just, take life easy. You have, a piece of bread, you have a little bit of fish, a beer, a vodka. Because you listen to the song of God, when you listen to the voice of God to do his commandments and his laws that are written in the Sefer Torah, then you will return to God with all of your heart and with all of your soul. It says you will listen to God. What does it mean, listen to God? Says the Baal HaTorah, and this is the numerical value of Gematria of Zehu L'Kol Shel Talmid Chacham. This is the sound of the Torah Talmudic scholars. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to get to the motto of Chabad. This is in the book the Tanya. Ki mitzvah zo, this commandment, well, I'm going to tell you when we get to it. This commandment is talking about doing tshuva. This commandment that I'm commanding you today is not wondrous from you, and it's not far away. It's not wondrous, and it's not far away. Well, let's go back to this. It's not in heaven that you have to say, let's go up into heaven and bring it to us, and then we'll hear it and we'll do it. And it's not on the other side of the sea. Let's go over to the other side of the sea. This is the motto of Chabad, at least of the Tanya. The whole Tanya is based on this sentence. This thing is very close to you. This thing is talking about doing tshuva, returning to God. This is very close to you. Beficha, in your mouth, bilavavicha, in your heart, lasoto, just to do it. So what's it saying? Don't think you have to have any special beliefs. Don't think you have to have any special. All you have to do is, you made a lot of sins, did a lot of bad things, huh? If you hurt people, so you have to make reparations. You hurt, make damages. You have to do restitution. You have to give people back what you damaged. But if you damage a person, if you damage somebody's property, then you, in addition to harming the person, you made a breach between you and God. So how can you get it fixed up? God is infinite. His anger is infinite. So that's it, right? Wrong. That's wrong. God gave the Torah. In the Torah, it says that no matter what you did, that you can repent for it. Like I say, if you killed somebody, then you can, at least you could take care of the spiritual part of it. The physical part, you have to go to a rabbi and ask him what to do. Stole money, give the money back. You hurt people, you have to repay the damages. Or whatever you did, there's what's called boshus and pagam and ripui and shevis. You have to pay a person for the time that he lost at work and the time that you shamed him. Nevertheless, after everything, between you and God, it's very near in your mouth just to do it. Just to do it. Now let's explain all these sentences. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. This mitzvah that I'm saying, it's not wondrous and it's not far away, right? And then the end of these 4 sentences is going to say, because it's very, very close in your heart to do it. What he explains in the Tanya is that essentially, in the essence of every Jew wants to do all the Torah and all the commandments. That's the essence of every Jew's soul. That's what it means, Laman Chayecha, for the sake of your life. What would have this? Laman Chayecha, we just learned it. For the sake of your life. In other words, the Torah is your life. It is simply the same thing as life itself. And just as life is infinitely real and it's very close and it's who you are, so the same thing is also the Torah and the commandments. It's from the Creator, and the Creator is creating you, so it's part of your life. So that's what it means. It's not far away. Let's see some of the explanations over here, right? We got beautiful one, the Ramban. The Ramban, it says this is talking on the whole Torah. This is referring to the whole Torah, right? We're going to see. This commandment is talking about the whole Torah, but the proper thing is that on the Torah it always says kol mitzvah dasher. When it says over here ha-mitzvah hazot, when it says this commandment, it says it's talking about doing tshuva. Says the Ramban, Rabbi Moses ben Nachman. This is talking about tshuva because, like it says, you have to put it to your heart. You have to return to God. That's what it means, tshuva, returning to God, returning to your senses, returning to God what you owe Him. Namely, what? The commandment that God has given us to do so. And it says in the language of Benoni, normal language, I command you to do. It's not far away, and it's not to tell that God is making a promise, because in the future, it's going to be so. You are going to love God. And the reason is, that even if you're scattered to the ends of the heavens and you're trapped in the hands of the non-Jews, nevertheless, you can always come back to God and do everything that Anochi, that Moses is commanding you today. Because it's not so far away and it's not distant from you. It's very, very close to you. Right? For a dog to act like a human being is very far. But for a human being that's been hypnotized to think he's a dog, it's not hard for him to act like a human being. Right? A dog has to change himself totally in order to be a human being. But a human being that thinks he's a dog, right? It's very easy for him to come back and serve God. The same thing. Every Jew in his essence wants to serve God. You can become hypnotized and forget it for a while, but to come back to your true identity, as it's very close to you. You ever see sometimes they take these people out of hypnosis, where the person is hypnotized, the hypnotist hypnotizes him, you are a giraffe. You are a giraffe that can fly in the air. You are a giraffe and your name is Fred. The person says yes. He says, okay, ready? Snaps his finger. Let's see. That's it. Snaps it. What? What happened? Where am I? Where? Right? Just comes back. So that's what it means. The Jewish people can return. Bakal aid, bakal makom, anytime, any place. And that's why it says that it's very close to you in your mouth and in your heart to do it. Yitvadu et avonam. In your mouth, you just confess all the sins that you did and the sins of your fathers, and you just turn with your heart to God, right? Not that hard. I'm sure that anybody can confess all the sins that you've done, no matter what they are, 3 minutes. Maybe you have to think about it, what it is for a while, in order to realize what they are. But to really confess all the bad things that you did, how long does it take? A few minutes? No, right? But who does it? No one does it. Who does it? Why? Because you think maybe God's not going to accept me. The sins are too bad. So he says, no, here the fact of the matter is it's very close to you. God wants you to say, I'm sorry. And he wants you just to change your heart. That's all you have to do. After all, God is very close to you. He's not some person. He's not some sort of a star or some sort of a spirit or something that's far away from you. God is the true you. It's the real you. That's what it means. You should accept on yourself today the Torah and its commandments for all of the generations. That's what it says, you and your sons, etc., like I explained. This mitzvah, why lama shekola hi tshuva, lomar, to tell you that tshuva is equal to all of the commandments. It says this mitzvah is like one mitzvah. This mitzvah is the mitzvah of returning to God, and that's equal to all of the other commandments. It's not in heaven, lo b'shamayim, it's not in heaven, saying who is going to go up to heaven and bring it to us and let us know what it is. Rashi, it's not in heaven, because if it was in heaven, then we would have to go up to heaven and get it. And it was, don't say if it's in heaven, so we can't do it, it's too far away. If it would be in heaven. It says, no, if God wanted to put the Torah in heaven, you'd have to sit up on a mountain maybe and meditate, right? And not eat for like 13 years, eat only beans or something, and sit there on the mountain and say all the time, just beans for 13 years, straight in a row, not to do anything else. If that's what we had to do, then that's what we would do. That would make you a very spiritual, out of this world person. But the fact is, God did not. If God would have put it up into heaven, then we would have had to go and do it and bring it down. Baal HaTurim says, who will go up? Me, Yale, Lanu Hashemayah, who will go up? If it was in heaven, we'd have to say, who will go up for us to heaven and bring it down? Who will go up? First letters, Mila, and the last letters of the name of God. Here. Mila is circumcision. Mem, Yud, Lamed, Hey, Mila. Last letters, Yud, Hey, then Vav, Hey, God's name. Right? What does this come to tell you? Lomer, to tell you, She'ena yochalalot, Etz Lashem, Im lo she'animo. A Jew cannot come close to God unless he is circumcised. Again, Tilatcha lifnei v'haya tamim. Also what it says, when God said to Abraham, walk before me and be tamim, complete. When did God say this to Abraham? When he changed his name. You're now called, you're Av Ram. You're going to be Av Raham. You're going to be complete. Walk in front of me, complete. What do you have to do to be complete? Circumcise yourself. So the circumcision has this amazing spiritual and godly effect on a Jew. So that's what it says. Mila is higher than Mi Yale Lanu Hashemayim. Mila is higher than even the name of God. The name of God that represents the Torah. Or HaCham. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Let's just go here. At first, it doesn't make any sense. It's not in heaven. Who's going to go up to heaven? And then it says it's not on the other side of the sea, but it's very, very close to you. So he says it seems to be a little bit of a contradiction over here. In the beginning, it says it's not in heaven to say who's going to go up to heaven, but it is very close. And therefore, it's close. You can send somebody, a shliach, you can send someone to get it. If so, it implies that it's not that close to you, that lo yistarich lishloach shliach. And afterwards it says, Kora v'elecha davar mod. What does Rashi say? The Torah is not up in heaven, right? It's not up in heaven that you would lay more to say, Mi Alenu, who's going to go up to heaven and get it, right? Who's going to go up there? In other words, if it was in heaven, even a messenger wouldn't be able to get there. So it means that it's in a place where a messenger can go, right? It says the Torah is not up in heaven where no messenger or representative could go to. The Torah must be not up in heaven where no messenger, but it must be in a place where a messenger can go, implying that it's not that close. It's a place you have to send a messenger or a Talmid Chacham or a teacher or something to get it. And afterwards it says it's Korav Elecha Davar Mod. It says it's very, very close to you, implying that you don't have to send anybody to get it. It's very close to you. That must be. So what does it mean? Does it mean that it's just it's so far that you have to send a shliach, but you can send a shliach. You can send an emissary to bring the Torah. You can send. It's not up in heaven where the emissary won't go. It's so close that an emissary will go. And then afterwards it says that it's close to you. You don't even have to send an emissary. So how is the Torah so close that you don't have to send anybody? Or does it mean that it's just not that close, but it's close enough that you can send an emissary? Do you have to send somebody to bring it or not? So it says, Lochin, they're going to say it's not up in heaven, because if it was up in heaven, you wouldn't be able to send after it if you wanted to go. So therefore, if you wanted to learn it, so you yourself, you would have to go yourself. No one would want to go up to heaven, so you would have no choice. You would have to go up yourself. So therefore, it says, no, don't worry about it. It's close, so close that it's a big novelty. It's telling you that I know. Okay, so he's saying that don't think that the Torah is so far away that no one will go there and that you yourself can't go there. Not only is it not that far away, but in fact, it's infinitely closer than what you could possibly think. You just have to turn your attention to it. Learning the Torah. It's not on the other side of the sea saying who's going to go over to the sea and bring it to us. The fact is, though, is if your teacher is on the other side of the sea, you are supposed to go there to learn it. It is very, very close to you. What does it mean, very close to you? In your mouth. That all the commandments, the main thing is in the heart. And there are some of them that you have to use your mouth. And there are some of them that you do indeed. Right? The yesh maisa, indeed, in order that you will. So usually every commandment has three things: your mouth, your heart, and doing it. You do the commandment, you make a blessing on it, that's with your mouth. And your heart, you have to understand a little bit of the intention, or at least have the intention you're doing what God wants me to do right now. This is the will of God. That's what it says in your mouth and in your heart. When you learn Torah, you have to bring them out of your mouth. You have to say the words. And in your heart means that you have to also understand the words that you're saying. All right, let's do a little bit more. Here we have tomorrow. Look, I'm putting in front of you today life and good, and death and bad. Rashi, one depends on the other. If you do good, then you get life. If you do bad, then you get death. So God is saying, life and death is in my hands. Good and bad is in your hands. Take your choice, whatever you want. If you choose to do good, then life is in your hands. What is life? Life is the thing that you're attached to me. If you really want to do bad and you want to be attached to yourself, okay, so go enliven yourself. Let's see if you can enliven yourself. So that's what he's saying. If you choose life, then you're attached to me. I'm the source of life. If you chose bad, then, up to you. You want to find the source of life to plug into, but it's not going to, Now, what we're talking about life here does not necessarily mean physical life. Doesn't necessarily. We see that there's evil people that live to be 110 years old. So it's not talking about physical. What it's talking about is being connected to the truth. And a lot of this depends on also faith, having faith that you're doing the right thing. Like people who died on the stake because they're Jews, they did not get any long life because of their Judaism. Exactly the opposite. If they would have changed their religion or whatever they did what they wanted to do in the time of the Crusades or the Inquisition, or they would live a long life, but it wouldn't be a true life. This is the life that I am commanding you today. That which I am commanding you today, what is it? What's this way of life? To love God, to go in his ways, to do his commandments, his statutes, his laws, and you will be alive and you will increase, and God will bless you in the land that you're going there to conquer. It says Rashi, this is the tov ubo tolui. This is the good that we're talking about. You're supposed to do. You're supposed to do the good. His life, love God. He's creating you, and that's the life that you'll get. You'll get a good life, positive life, right? I mean, there's nothing more fulfilling to a person than to see his children, to have children, first of all, and to see that his children are living a meaningful life. There's nothing that you can really that can compare to that, and that's why, just even logically, these same-sex marriages and the abortions, unless they're really necessary, the abortions, things like that, which are the opposite of life, is so it's so unfulfilling. It's so even though temporarily it might have some benefit. A person has an abortion, so you don't have so many children in the house. You're a little more free. There's not so much noise going around. But in the end, you lived, an empty, one-dimensional life. One-dimensional life. And if a person, whatever reason is he can't have any children, so it's in a way it's a tragedy. It certainly is a tragedy. And you're right, children are trouble, and what's the big deal about children, et cetera, et cetera. But after all, it's a pleasure to be gotten, a fulfillment that can't be compared. So that's what he says. You will be alive and you will multiply. This is the life that God said. Okay, if your heart turns away and you don't do, then you get pushed away. You start to bowing down to all sorts of other gods, and you start to serve them. Ones that take you away. That's the bad. This is the, what do we say? There's the good in the life. Now we're getting the bad. This is the bad. I'm telling you now, says God, you're going to get destroyed. You won't stay long on this land that you are crossed over the Jordan River in order to take it over. This is the death. The death we're talking about. I'm testifying you today, the heavens and the earth, that life and death I am putting in front of you, blessing and curse. I'm asking you to choose life in order that you will live, you and your children. I don't know, do you remember we learned the mimer about this in Likutei Torah? I mean, it's ridiculous. Everybody chooses life, and even more, the people that want to go and stay up all night or make big parties on Shabbat, take drugs and do whatever they want. Those are people who are really living it up, right? That's really love. Who wants to just sit in a room and learn black on white, Torah, when you can go to some opera or some rock show and there's all these, there's a light show and a pyrotechnics and all this stuff. That's action, huh? That's really life. Isn't that really life? So he says, well, in an external way, you got a good point. But, that's maybe the garments of life, but it's not life itself. Life itself is something that enlivens all these, people. You go to one of these big rock shows and there's a power failure. That's it. The whole thing is just down the drain, or somebody makes a mistake in the pyrotechnics, the whole thing burns down. That's it. You're finished. There's no meaning to the whole thing. There's nothing eternal, no real life, not really alive. So that's what he says. You Jewish people, I'm putting in the land of Israel. Land of Israel is the land of life. It's a holy place. If you only want to take the external part of it, and you want to have, temporary pleasures, like you say, I want it all, I want it now. So if that's the type of life that you get, so it ends up that I'm begging you not to do that, because you're not just going against the religion, you're going against life itself. I'm asking you, choose life so that you will live, you and your offspring. It's not a curse in a way. The curse itself is the opposite of life. That's what, cutting yourself off from the source of life. I'm giving you testimony today, the heavens and the earth, life and death I am putting in front of you, says Rashi. Why the heavens and the earth? Because the heavens and the earth will exist forever. That's right, heavens and the earth will be there forever. And if you do something bad, then there'll be witnesses that I warned you, and nevertheless, I warned you about all this. That's one explanation. Another explanation, says Rashi, I am making witnesses for you today, the heavens and the earth. God said to the Jewish people, look up in the heavens that I created to serve you, right? The sun comes up, it gives nourishment to your plants, to your crops, makes the world warm, right? If things freeze, maybe the sun, it changes its meter. One day, maybe the sun says, I've been coming up already in the morning for thousands of years, according to science, millions, billions, trillions of years. One day I'm taking a day off. Maybe the sun one day will say, I'm taking a day off from the Mizrach, and it won't shine up the world. I don't want to shine up the world anymore. One day, what's wrong with that? Like it says, Zarach HaShemesh Ubo HaShemesh. Look at the earth. I created the earth in order to serve you. Maybe the earth will change the way it acts, and you'll plant seeds and nothing will grow up. Who says seeds have to grow up? Or maybe you'll plant wheat and it'll come up barley, roses or something. Just like the sun and the moon, the stars, the skies, the ground, nature, they're working without any reward and without any, they don't expend anything, right? No reward whatsoever. So if they do good, they don't receive any reward. If they sin, they don't receive any punishment, the heavens and the earth. And nevertheless, they do exactly what I tell them to do. You Jewish people, that if you do good, you're going to receive a reward. And if you do sins, then you're going to get punished. So for sure, you should do what I want. That's why he says, I swear the heavens and the earth. You should choose life. Says Rashi, I am telling you that you should choose in the portion of life. Just like a person that says to his son, I'm putting you here, I'm giving you diamonds and coals. I'm asking you, choose diamonds. Do me a favor. He gives him a nice portion, and he says, this is what you should choose. I'm your father. I know what I'm talking about. Says, yeah, God, but look at, Dad, but look at this coal. I mean, you can write on the ground with it, right? You can, right? Watch this, right? Write on the ground. Now, I love Daddy. Huh? His father says, listen, do me a favor. Take the diamonds. The diamonds are worth more. They're more beautiful. They're long lasting. Take the diamonds. He says, I'm giving you this portion. It says, God is my portion and my kosya. God, you are my portion. You are my lot. You support my choice. It's like God is taking your hand and is putting it on the diamonds. He says, take these, you won't regret it. That's what God is saying. Choose Torah, choose the commandments, you won't regret it. What should you do? You'll have long life, you and your children. What's the long life? That you'll love God, you'll listen to what he says, you'll cling to him, because God is your life and he's the length of life. He's your life and is the length of your days, to dwell on the land that God swore to his fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, to give to him. Therefore, God is pleading with us. Please do what I'm saying. It's for your benefit. It's like driving on the right side of the road. It's like a father saying to his son, listen, when you wake up in the morning, don't stake your head in a bucket of water for more than a couple seconds, right? Father's saying, do me a favor. Don't stick your head in a bucket of water. Don't try it in a bucket of water for half an hour. Do me a favor, don't do it. You're going to die, right? You're going to die. It's not good. Don't even try it. It's not necessary. You'll have a big trauma. In the morning, take a few breaths, say, Moda ani lefanecha. That's what you should do. Son said, nah, I don't want to. I said, look, I'll put you in the good portion here. Choose this. That's what God is saying to us. You should cling to God. Everything that you do should be for the sake of God, because God is your life. A person who is connected to God, who God is the reason for your life, as this attaches you to something that is eternal. It's an infinite meaning. And so therefore you'll draw down long life on the land of Israel, even temporarily, even day-to-day life you'll have, not just eternal life up in heaven. That's what it says. Prepare yourself in the courtyard in order that you can come into the main building. So the main building, of course, is the coming of the Moshiach. That's what we're preparing. And this is all these promises from this week's Torah portion that the Jewish people is going to be really good. All the Jewish people are going to return to God, and God's going to help us, in some cases even force us, to make the right choices. Every Jew without exception. Have a good day. See you tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning. Tomorrow we'll learn the Haftorah, Sas Asis, the great joy that's going to be when Mashiach arrives. Have a good day with Mashiach now, and hope to see you tomorrow at 8:15.